Most Evilest Children, Part 1. Mary Bell. Mary Bell was born from a 17-year-old sex worker in England. Throughout this little girl's childhood, she was always abused. From her own mother and from her mother's clients. That's when she decided to take her anger out on other people. The day before her 11th birthday, she took this little boy into an abandoned house and strangled him. His name was Martin Brown. Her and her friend Norma Brown even went to a nursery home and trashed it, but the cops let it go because they thought it was a sick prank. Then they took this little boy named Brian Howe by the nursery and also strangled him. Mary did unspeakable things to his body. She was then convicted of manslaughter and deemed a psychopath. She was locked up for 12 years but then got released in 1980 at the age of 23. She was then given a brand new identity to avoid the spotlight. So now she's free to do whatever she wants. She could even be your neighbor and you would never even know. Like this video for a part 2 of Evil.
Alafia! My name is Oshun Amare. On this channel, we uncover the creepiest, most unusual haunted TikToks the internet has to offer for entertainment purposes. Y'all are my soul tribe. Tribe is with a Y because the Y is for you. And that's because I love you so freaking much. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I do not take your time for granted. Please do it now. Like, comment, and subscribe to the Soul Chat for your weekly dose, coming to you every Sunday and every Thursday. And then we got some things coming in between the meantime. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. It's Gemini season. Let me know what your season is. And let's get to this video. That's crazy.
Yeah, wait, something's going on. What's the safe word? What's the safe word?
We don't have a safe word.
We have a safe word.
We don't have a safe word.
We have a rude safe word. What's the rude safe word?
No, you're making up some shit.
Okay. Her face doesn't look like herself. Something's going on. But it's time to go on. Come on.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
I don't want to go.
Come on. Come on. I'm not liking this.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. That was not good.
Pripyat, within the Chernobyl exclusion zone, abandoned gas masks scattered on a school floor tell the haunting tale of the 1986 nuclear disaster. Frozen in time, these relics bear witness to the abrupt evacuation, leaving behind a chilling reminder of the tragedy's impact on daily life. Sent to a German mental institution in 1907 after being convicted of sabotage, Katharina Detzel made this creepy husband doll out of straw. It's said that she carried the doll everywhere, interacting with it as though it were living. In 1971, the Pereira family began to encounter strange, human-like faces, stains, that appeared and disappeared in their home without explanation. One day, Maria Gomez told her husband that a face had appeared on the concrete floor in the kitchen. Her husband immediately destroyed the image with a pickaxe, only to have it appear again later. However, skeptical researchers have performed extensive tests on the faces and believe that they are fabrications possibly created as part of a hoax. It is suspected that the Pereira family may have perpetrated the hoax for financial gain. The Sedlik Ossuary is a Roman Catholic chapel in the Czech Republic. The ossuary is estimated to contain the skeletons of between 40,000 and 70,000 people, whose bones have in many cases been artistically arranged to form decorations and furnishings for the chapel. The statue of Neptune in Gran Canaria, Spain, stands tall as
we
a
don't
majestic
accept no
tribute
negative
to the
energy
sea.
from this
Located in
motherfucking
Puerto
video
Delgado,
at
this
all.
iconic sculpture portrays Neptune, also known as Poseidon, who is the god of the sea in Greek mythology. The intricate details and coastal setting make it a captivating landmark.
All right, so, recently my family and I, we went to Mississippi to surprise my mother-in-law for her birthday. And we pulled off a surprise. She was very surprised. She was happy to see all of us. And the family all got to meet the baby, or at least my in-laws did. And so, of course, once we surprised her, of course, everybody was like, oh, let us see the baby. And, we're doing the whole meet and greet thing. And, of course, I'm not just like this on the internet. Really, when I see people, I'm like, hey, how are you? It's Rod Smith. I don't know why I do that even when people already know. I'm kind of awkward, honestly. I'm like the Black J.D. Vance. But anyways, so of course, you know, my wife's family, they're Vietnamese. And anytime someone is married to or dating other, obviously, we're going to know that person looks a little bit different than everyone else. There's two of us that are black. There's one that is of Hispanic descent. And one of her aunts is dating a white guy. And so as we're going around greeting everyone, I noticed that her aunt's boyfriend, I'm going to come back to him, was standing here back to her back right. And I kind of was like, hey, how are you? And I go to, just greet him or whatever, and he nods. And then I thought to myself, dang, nobody's talking to him. That's kind of strange. Anyway, so they go on to start playing board games, and I go downstairs to make videos. And you all remember I was standing by the tiki bar when I made the video talking about Russia. And I came back in because it was time to eat, and I realized, I was like, hey, oh, he's gone. Like, I didn't see anyone leave. So I was thinking, maybe he went to bed or whatever. That's kind of it. And so then we go back to our Airbnb. We come back the next day, and he's not there. We go to her grandparents' house. He's not there. Come back the next day. He's not there. I'm like, what in the world? Did he just leave and didn't say, bye to anyone? And so my wife and I were talking as we were on our way back to Alabama. And I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I met you. I said hi to your aunt's boyfriend, and he nodded or whatever. But he didn't say much. And she was like, what aunt? And I was like, your aunt. And I'm not going to say her name, but, and she goes, what do you mean you met him? I was like, he was standing right behind her at the island when we all came to surprise your mom. And she looks at me and she goes, no, he left the day before we got there. And I was telling her, I was like, I'm telling you, the man was standing right there. I knew everyone else in the room. I'd never met him before. The man was standing right there to her back right-hand side. And she said, I'm telling you, there was no one else there. He left the day before we did. And so, again, I've never met him before.
Did he pass away?
And so I was like, show me a picture, please. Just show me a picture. And she shows me a picture, and y'all, it was not the man. So there was some guy standing in the room with us that no one else saw, and I did. I think I saw a ghost. And here is the kicker. That night we got there, now I'm not trying to talk my baby up, but we have a really happy baby. Like, she goes to anyone. Like, you hand her off, and she's going to smile in your face, and want to play in your face. That child
happy baby
cried the entire time we were there that night. Oh. So I think, there was a ghost or some sort of spirit in there. And for some reason, me and her were the only two that saw her. Y'all? Wow.
Don't you wish you could talk to your baby?
What are y'all thoughts on that?
Late at night in Los Lunas, a lady arrives at a homeowner's door, appearing extremely scared. She rings the doorbell and asks the homeowner for a phone call. The situation is perplexing, as it's hard to determine if she genuinely needs help or if there's some kind of trap or deception involved. In such uncertain circumstances, it's essential to prioritize personal safety and caution while considering how to assist the lady. It might be best to contact the authorities to ensure both her safety and the homeowner's well-being.
Do you have a phone I could borrow? What? A phone.
Hello?
Hello?
Can I help you?
I have a snack, so you know what that means. Sorry that I haven't been posting too much. I just honestly feel so burnt out right now. And I've been trying not to take breaks on social media because I done took so many, but I just had to take a little tiny one. I try to avoid breaks because literally the life that you want to be is right across from consistency, and I'm trying to stay consistent, but it's hard sometimes. Anyways, to the story. I'm gonna show you guys something, right? This is a ring, but if you look at it, it's like a dragon ring with red eyes. So my little brother came home one day with this ring, and he told me that his friend gave this to him. When he showed me this ring, I remember this story that someone told me. I had to explain to him that things like this, you cannot accept from everybody. Even if it's harmless, like this one, completely harmless, right? However, the significance behind it may not be harmless. So there's this guy, let's name him Daryl. Daryl was walking his dog one time in his very quiet neighborhood, and he noticed there was a garage sale, so he's like, oh, let me go look and see what they got. And as he's looking, he sees this really cool ring. There was this animal on the ring. He couldn't really describe it, but he found it really cool, so he's like, hey, how much does this ring cost? The garage sale lady goes, well, it's free if you want it. And Daryl's like, really? And the lady goes, better in your hands than mine. And Daryl didn't really think too much about that. He just like, okay, sure, I guess. So he took it and he immediately put it on his finger to see if it would fit. And it does. He also buys a couple of more things and then he goes home. He goes home, everything seems normal. When it's time for him to go to bed, he takes off the ring and he puts it on his dresser and he goes to bed. For some reason that night, he just kept tossing and turning and tossing and turning. But that's not such a bad thing because everybody has those type of nights. But throughout all the tossing and turning, he felt like someone was with him. There was some kind of presence with him. Again, he's like brushing it off as that like he's just not having a good night. So a couple of days pass and he's still wearing the ring like normal, but weird things started happening by his house. Like he could have sworn he keeps seeing things move from his peripheral. Sometimes he feels like doors were closing by themselves, but he never made the connection that it could be the ring. And so the weekend comes and he goes to hang out with his friends. And all his friends seem to think that he looks different. According to them, his eyes seem a little more gold than usual. It has some kind of hint of gold to it. Now, when he heard this, he's like, what? What are y'all talking about? They can't really pinpoint it, but there's something about his face. It's like it's changing. So he just brushes it off like, haha, you guys are very funny. Y'all just drunk. And he goes on about the night and he goes home. Now, about another week later, he was looking at himself in the mirror and he started noticing the changes. His physical features were changing. Not only that, but he also started having like nightmares. They're nightmares, but they feel like memories. They don't feel like nightmares. Again, he still hasn't made the connection. And it started to happen like every single night. He was having nightmares every single night. And he's like, yo, what's going on? And at this point, there's active activity going on at his house. He's still actively wearing that ring. So one day it's time for him to go to bed, right? And he does his, normal routine. He tries to take the ring off, but it won't come off. It doesn't matter how hard he tries to get the ring off. It just won't come off. The thing about it is, it's not tight on his finger. It just won't come off. He can't get it off. He tried to get his friends to try and get it off. Nobody can get it off. So that's when red flags started to raise in his head. And he started to think, like, when did this start happening? And it clicked. It started happening after the garage sale, after he started wearing that ring. His life was perfectly normal before, but now he's having nightmares. He's looking different, and now the ring won't come off. And then he thought about what the lady said to him when he was getting that ring from the garage sale. So he goes back to the lady's house to get a little more information, just to, like, I guess prove to himself that he's not crazy. So he goes and he knocks on the door, and the same lady opens the door. And the moment the lady sees him, it's like she knew. It's like she expected a visit from him. And the first thing that she says to him is, I don't want the ring back. I don't want the ring back. I already gave it to you. It's yours. So the guy is like, why would you bring up the ring? So you know something is wrong with this. And the lady goes, I already told you. It's your worry now. And she closes the door and goes back inside.
I'm going to try this for the second time.
Then
because
what?
I recorded the first time. It was no audio recorded. But now I'm just going to speed it up. This is what happened when the ghost followed me home from the When we were leaving New Orleans and we were all in the car, I felt that there was a man with me, and I told everybody in the car there was a man with us, and we all did our own little separate prayers to try to get him to go ahead and stay where he was at, and he couldn't come with us, right? Of course, sometimes it doesn't always work, depending on the people that you're around and all that. So I get back to Atlanta. About 3 or 4 days after that, things start moving around in my house, okay? One, I start realizing that there's somebody peeking around corners in here, like this.
Girl.
And I would see shit like this.
Girl. I love the demonstration. Thank you.
So after seeing that a lot, I started to acknowledge the spirit. Like, who are you? What do you want? Get out, And then it started touching stuff in here. So this was me and my girlfriend was going through this where we would be sitting somewhere alone and things start moving around in the house. There was a time where I was sitting over here on this couch, and all the way across the room over here, I saw my shoe slowly lean and fall off of something. There was a different time I was sitting right here on the couch, and you see that bag over there? That bag is hooked onto some clips. It unhooked itself and fell to the floor. Dead silent in here. I'm chilling, sitting on the couch by myself, and I just have to look up and be like, stop touching shit, right?
Okay.
So this was the ongoing thing for about a week and a half in my house. Was like things were moving around. They didn't have no business moving around. And I talked to my girlfriend about it. She had been seeing something walking around in the house. Things had been moving around, and she had felt something poke her. Now, this is when I knew that it was getting serious. I could feel him, and I could see things about him in my mind's eye. I could see what he looked like. I could see about how old he was. I could see what his energy was like. I could see what he was wearing. So I was starting to get a feel and an idea for him and like why he was around. Wasn't a bad guy at all, kind of like a guy that like died young in his early 20s, and I was just the only light that he could see in that area, so he followed me all the way home. Oh. But I was laying in the room, right? I went to go take a nap. My girlfriend told me like, go ahead and take a nap. So I went in the room to take a nap. She was out here in the kitchen where I'm currently at. I'm in the bedroom on the end of the bed taking a nap, right? Laid underneath of like this extra little blanket or whatever, just laying on the end of the bed. I felt her walk into the room, and you know where you can kind of hear the air change or whatever, like when somebody's coming close to you. I felt her and heard her walk into the room, and it felt like she walked into the room, looked at me, noticed I was asleep, and then touched my head and gave me a kiss. Oh. And walked out. Now, when she walked in, when I heard her walk in the room, I woke up. My eyes was closed, but I woke up. I thought she was going to ask me something. So I woke up, and I felt the fingertips touch the back of my head, and I felt my head kind of get this weird little tingle on the inside, and I felt the really, really light. And I turned directly around, and the room was empty. So I sat up, and I said, oh, okay. Came out here and noticed she was in the kitchen. Told her what happened as soon as it happened, right? So after that, I honestly sat in here one day when he started moving shit around again and fucking with the lights. Like, he was making the lights flicker and stuff. So I told him that he had to leave. Mm-hmm. But the thing about me is I don't just like banish spirits to go and you know, haunt somebody else. Right. I send you on your way. So I called in my angels and my spirit guides and my ancestors to come in and help this guy move on if he was willing to do so. And he was willing to do so. He just didn't know where to go or how to do it. So we helped him. He moved on. He's gone. My house is clean. That was the spirit I brought with me from New Orleans. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this experience. If you went to New Orleans and brought something back with you, if you're from New Orleans, if you've ever been haunted, if you're a medium, whatever, let me know in the comments.
I don't have Roku.
What if the devil didn't?
You gotta watch them, y'all.
He just left a box in your neighborhood. The first time it showed up on our block, it didn't come in no dealer's hand. It came in a government van with no plates. It was 1985, South Central LA. Summer fading, heat still hanging off the concrete like a warning. Streets were tight, money low, tempers high, and people just trying to make it. Now back then, there was an old man named Mr. Harold. Used to sweep the sidewalk like he was protecting sacred ground. Always muttering stuff like, they gonna poison us, and it won't come through the water. Folks laughed, thought he was just old and tired. Then one night around 3 a.m., a black van with no plates crept down the alley behind the liquor store. No lights, no sound, just slid in like it belonged to the shadows. 4 men got out, no neighborhood faces, suits, military posture, looked too clean to be from around here. They opened the back and started unloading sealed wooden crates. Quiet and quick. One behind the dumpster, one under a swing set, one next to the burnt-out corner store. They didn't knock on doors, didn't speak, just left them behind, like a gift wrapped in silence. Next morning, whole block felt off. Kids found those crates first, took pieces out, passed them around. By sundown, something had changed. Some folks moved fast and jittery. Others just sat, staring at walls like they could hear them whisper. People who used to laugh, gone quiet. Folks who worked double shifts, now disappearing for days. And the crates, gone. Mr. Harold stood on his stoop. That ain't no accident, he said.
Sound like a crack
That's
epidemic.
War. Quiet war. Later, whispers started.
Heroin.
About how somebody used the neighborhood to fund something overseas. About planes and meetings and things being dropped off and no one would notice or care. And anybody who asks too many questions, they stopped asking. So when folks wonder why certain neighborhoods fell apart like rotting floors, tell them this. We didn't bring the boxes. We didn't pack what was inside. But we sure opened them. And some of us never closed them again.
Roommate wanted,
drugs, all
female
that,
only.
literally left in the hood.
This
on
was the
purpose
title of
by
a
the
Reddit
government.
post uploaded almost 10 years ago now. It refers to the title of a Craigslist ad a girl named Amanda had seen while looking for a place to rent. The post consists of her detailed experience. Amanda was browsing the internet when she came across the ad. The listing was for a room in a house for $225 a month, which was pretty cheap for the area. The occupant listed herself as a 23-year-old college student who wasn't comfortable living with any males. Amanda would get her own room and bathroom. The only thing was the Craigslist ad only had one picture. It was a picture of the outside of the house. There were no pictures of the inside. But still interested, Amanda sent an email to the occupant. In less than an hour, she got an email back with all the details and the time to stop by. The time said 8 p.m., past when it would have gotten dark.
Right? Why I gotta come so late?
In the email, the occupant said this was because she worked late. So, that night at 8 p.m., Amanda arrived at the house. She walked up to the front door and was met by a handwritten note that said, "Door broken, use back door." She started walking around towards the back, and as she did, she noticed how unkempt the place looked. The windows were covered in dust, and the grass was way overgrown. She knocked on the back door.
I would have been turned around.
An older man opened it. At first, she thought she was at the wrong house, but the guy went on to explain how he was the landlord, and that the occupant asked him to show her around.
Wow.
The post described him as clearly in his 40s, unshaven, and a guy who looked like he lived in his car. A bit hesitant, Amanda stepped inside and allowed the man to give her a tour.
Be smarter,
Immediately,
ladies.
she noticed the place had no furniture whatsoever.
Where's the
There
common
was only
sense?
one light on, the light in the kitchen. The landlord would answer questions, but was irritable to keeping lights on for too long. He rushed her around, only letting her look in rooms for a few seconds. They eventually got to one room that the landlord wouldn't open. He said it was the occupant's room and that she wouldn't want them to go in there. As they were heading back to the living room, Amanda noticed a plank nailed across the front door. She tried to get out of there, thanking the owner for the tour and heading back towards the back door. That's when the man perked up and mentioned how he forgot to show her the basement.
Gonna sound weird, but bear with me. When I was in high school, there was a kid who told everyone he was a demon. I don't feel comfortable even writing his name for reasons you'll soon understand. I'm just gonna call him Patrick, even though his name sounds like something out of a Shakespeare play. He was extremely socially awkward and walked around with a super empty stare that made even teachers
Time to
uncomfortable.
invest in a new
He
chair.
wore the same blank gray
You wanna buy me
hoodie
one, let
literally
me
every
know.
single day. I'm not exaggerating. I'm pretty sure he never washed the thing, since he always smelled terrible too. He was decently short and pretty average looking, although you wouldn't be able to tell since he always had his hood up. He never took his sunglasses off, even inside. Teachers eventually stopped asking him to because he would never listen anyway. Now comes the weird stuff. He didn't have any friends, but had this weird tendency to adopt people. What I mean by that is, if he liked you, which he could decide randomly one day, he would walk up to you and say, "You're adopted," meaning you were part of his circle or whatever. Apparently this would make you safe from him or something. That's at least what he'd say about it. He didn't really like that many people though, so few people were ever really adopted. I was one of those few. Looking back, it was probably because he had a crush on me. None of us believed his demon spiel, and everyone just assumed he was a troubled kid, which he definitely was. Oh yeah, I should probably mention that this all takes place in Wayne, Pennsylvania,
I knew
which
that
is
was
where I grew up.
Pennsylvania. That's crazy.
Another
I'm
girl
like,
I used to be
like my
friends
city a
with,
little
Gabby,
bit.
had also been adopted by him. Patrick's crush on her was a little more obvious, and all my friends knew it. One day, my friends and I were chilling on the dugouts behind our high school, killing time and doing God knows what. It was me, Gabby, Laura, and Luke. I can't exactly remember how it happened, but the topic of conversation floated over to Patrick's crush on Gabby. We were all laughing about it, and Gabby was pretty obviously embarrassed. I can't remember what it was, but there was a nickname we'd substitute for Patrick's name, because his real name was too clunky. This time though, I distinctly remember Laura using Patrick's real name. The third time she said it, I swear in my life that Patrick appeared out of nowhere and jumped on top of the dugout with a baseball bat in his hand. It wasn't scary in a typical sense. but it was one of the most unsettling things I'd ever seen up until that point. We quickly stopped talking, nervous that he might have overheard us talking about him. He didn't say anything though, and just stared at us. I gave him a little wave, and he nodded in acknowledgement at me before jumping back down to the ground and swiftly walking away. After we were sure he was gone, the four of us burst into laughter, finding humor in how weird the whole encounter was. On the inside though, I was still a little disturbed. The next incident I can remember was significantly more creepy and impossible to laugh about. I was literally in Laura's house, and the two of us were hanging out in her room. Her parents were home. I'm not sure what exactly we were talking about, but again, Patrick's name was said 3 times between the two of us. Not 10 minutes later, we heard Laura's front door slam shut. Confused, we went downstairs to see if one of our other friends had decided to pull up. Laura was friends with everyone, and her parents were super chill, so people came and went unannounced when it came to her house. Laura's mom had beaten us to the door though. We turned the corner of the living room and stared in shock at Patrick, who was just standing there, talking to Laura's mom. She asked him what he was doing there, to which he literally replied, "I was summoned." Laura's mom made some small talk with him before politely asking him to leave, which he silently did. The reason why more alarm bells weren't going off was because Laura's mom actually knew Patrick and pitied him. Laura and I weren't as calm about the situation though.
Said I was
summoned. As we walked back up the stairs, we talked to each other with horrified faces about how creepy that was. A few minutes later, we made the connection between the two events. He seemed to pop up when his name was uttered 3 times.
Wow.
I know how ridiculous this sounds, but we had both witnessed 2 unexplainable events and knew Patrick's history of claiming to be a demon. How else could someone else rationalize what had taken place? We told all of our friends about the incident the next day, and our friend group swore to never say his name 3 times in one conversation again. Things were going well for a few months, and I started to think that maybe I had overreacted. That is, until one day, when my same group of friends were hanging out at my other friend Johnny's house. We were chilling on his back deck when the topic of conversation again found itself concerning Patrick. Despite all of our efforts to convince him, Johnny refused to believe what we told him about Patrick. Even after confirming the story with the entire group, he was still skeptical. To display his disbelief, he jokingly used Patrick's name 3 times in the same sentence, to our dismay. When nothing happened, he grinned and told us we were stupid to believe something so ridiculous. As annoyed as I was, part of me was relieved that he hadn't shown up. I spoke too soon though, because a few minutes later, Patrick jumped over Johnny's backyard fence. Johnny noticed him first and stopped speaking mid-sentence. The rest of us followed suit and went dead silent, nervous about what Patrick might do this time. We watched as he stared at us for a few seconds before jumping back over the fence and disappearing out of sight.
What you want?
Johnny started freaking out and accused us of conspiring with Patrick to scare him. We told him that we literally begged him not to say anything. We sat in silence for a while before Johnny eventually told us all to go home, clearly shaken from the experience. The last experience I had concerning Patrick was definitely the scariest and most disturbing. It was the only one where I felt like my life might have actually been in danger. A few months after the incident at Johnny's house, I was home alone one night. My parents rarely left the house back then, so this was a rare occurrence. I decided to take advantage of the situation and invited a boy over whom I'd been talking to. He was kind of a tool, but so were most of the guys I was talking to at that age. We were hanging out in my room, and it was lightly raining outside. After a while, he mentioned something about Patrick, which made me visibly cringe. He got confused, so I explained the situation to him. He burst out laughing and told me he was going to say Patrick's name to scare me. I begged him not to, but he did it anyway. Only this time, he didn't just say it. He literally screamed Patrick's name 3 times at the top of his lungs. There was no delay this time. The moment he finished yelling, I could hear the rain instantly pick up outside. A few seconds later, there was a flash of lightning. I started to freak out. The guy I was with actually seemed sorry and told me it was probably just an extremely unlikely coincidence. I cursed him out and ran to my window to look at the storm. I glanced down to look at my driveway and screamed when I saw a silhouette of a person looking up at my window. It was too dark and stormy to know for sure, but I was 99% certain that it was Patrick. I shut the blinds and rushed downstairs to make sure all the doors were locked. After locking the back door, I saw that person again. Only this time, he He was standing motionlessly in my front yard. I felt a panic attack coming on, and I knew Patrick was going to find a way inside my house. I started screaming, "But I'm adopted," over and over again, hoping that would do something. I know there was no way he'd have been able to hear me, but my brain was all over the place at that point. The guy I was with ran down the stairs a few seconds later and picked me up off the kitchen floor in an attempt to comfort me. I looked out the window again, and he was gone. The storm was still coming down like crazy though, but it's not like I was going to search the property anyway. The next morning, after that guy had left, I went out to inspect my yard. To my horror, I found something sinister in the far corner of my backyard. It was Patrick's hoodie, and wrapped inside of it were a couple random belongings of mine that I assumed I lost. My parents were gone another day, and I was too scared to call the police.
Why?
I figured I'd show my parents what I had found after school the next day, and they'd take it from there. I never had to, though. The next day, Patrick didn't show up to school. He didn't show up the day after that either. None of us ever saw him again, and no one knew what happened to him. My parents still live in the same house, which is something I think about a lot. I know this isn't your typical scary story, but I'm not sure where else to vent about this. A few people from school told me they caught Patrick hiding and eavesdropping on their conversations, which could explain how he was able to show up out of nowhere. As I've grown older and thought back on the whole thing, I think what makes the most sense is Patrick was just a mentally ill stalker who followed me and possibly other girls around, hence why he was always able to appear when his name was brought up. It skeeves me out just imagining him following me around all over the place, listening to me. I don't even want to wonder where he is today.
Girl, and your family still live in that house? And this man just disappeared? He fucking live in the walls. If you ask me, he live in the walls, okay? Be careful. It's like, nah, I ain't gonna say that because I don't want to scare you if you're watching. But, what y'all think happened to Mr. P Man? Because I ain't finna say his mother effing name if he is a D word, okay? Anyway, you reached the end of another video. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate your time, baby. If you want to support me and support the channel, you can do it for free by like, comment, and subscribing, as well as sharing. Sharing is caring. And make sure you give it to everybody you know, whether you love them, want to fight them, fuck them, feed them, or fart in their mouth. It don't matter. They need to see this video, okay? All of my videos. Spread the love. It's free. Thank you. And if you got a coin and you like to use it on me, you can get you a journal, an empowerment guide journal. You can get you a 25 days of affirmations and journaling. That's a separate ebook that I have. Both are on sale for $11.11 for the time being. And what else? You can get a membership. There are tons and tons of content for you to check out. You get access to early episodes when they are released. You get access to early shorts when they're released. You get access to about 100 personal vlogs that I did over the past few years when I originally started my YouTube channel back in like 2020, 2019, something like that. So you'll get access to all of that. You'll get to know me a little bit better. And yeah, so get you a membership. And then the merch. Get you some merch, okay, please. That's what it's there for. Get you some merch. Merch up. Support the Soul Tribe, support the channel, and support me, baby. I appreciate you. Because I don't have a job, okay? I know I had a job, but I don't no more. So I need y'all help if y'all want me to keep this going. But no, seriously, I appreciate $1. Cash apps at the end of every show. And I think that is it. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Please be kind to one another. Be kind to your loved ones. Show gratefulness. Show gratitude. Show kindness. Show peace. Find peace within yourself, because you cannot find peace outside of yourself. If you don't know, now you know. And I think that's it for now. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I'm outie 5,000. Oh, shit. Open my third eyes, on my way. I'ma open my one eye, be in dementia. You on my body, but I'm not a Christian. I'm not a religion.